The Galaxy Explorer was released back in 2022 as part of LEGO's 90th anniversary of play. Because of its nostalgic appeal to those of us over a certain age and with a certain amount of disposable income, it did generate quite a bit of buzz in the adult LEGO fan community. Now, with the recent release of the Blacktron Renegade, I thought I would revisit this set a couple years after it was released to see if it holds up well over time, and in particular, think about how this fits into the broader context of where LEGO is going. Now, in this video, I am going to break down the building techniques and the building experience, the minifigs, the value, place it in the broader context, and see maybe if it's worth you picking up if you don't have it, given that you could actually get this set below regular retail price even to this day. Let's dive in. The Galaxy Explorer arrives in a box oozing with classic space vibes. You've got the black space background with stars, the tan surface, minifig riding in the cart, with another one walking on the planet or moon surface, and there's this yellow diagonal stripe in the upper left-hand corner that was ubiquitous for LEGO sets from the 1970s and 1980s. The top of the box is yellow with a picture of the minifigs in 1:1 scaling, which makes this a bit of a hybrid between the modern box and old school box designs. Finally, on the back, you get plenty of different views of the main model, including this one of the minifigs riding the rocket engines, interestingly enough. The contents are a bit different from what I've come to expect from LEGO sets these days. The instructions aren't in a cardboard box, rather a plastic sleeve. You get 9 numbered bags, an 8x16 tile in black, and at least in my copy, a small insert telling me that paper bags are on the way in 2022 and 2023. For the record, I've yet to see any of those bags in real life, nor have I seen another one of those inserts since then. Another surprise for me was the lack of stickers. There are a number of printed elements which look sufficiently modernized in terms of details, yet old school in their general aesthetic. Unlike instructions from 2024, we get a non-white background as the tan theme from the box carries over to here. We also get some notes about the history of the Galaxy Explorer and the classic space theme at the front. Perhaps my only disappointment here was that there were some spots where the steps were obscured by the inside edge of the page. It's not a big deal, but it was slightly annoying. I'm not going to describe the build process bag by bag, but I do want to note that bag 1 was my least favorite because it was just a bunch of Technic pieces putting together. Some people don't like the detailed tiling of modular buildings. I am not a fan of large Technic skeletons. I understand why we're doing it, so I promise this won't really detract from my final rating. Despite the Technic genesis for the Galaxy Explorer, we soon move on to some incredible building techniques, which I will highlight here. First, it's important to know that this is a Mike Sayaki designed set, which means you're going to get a lot of interesting angles. Here's one of my favorites, the upward angle of the ship's cockpit and cabin using Technic pins at multiple points to lock things in. To help with other angles, you use some very unconventional building techniques. Here, we use some 1x1 modified plates with O-rings and the 1x1 round studs with a bar to lock in the angles for the wings. You also use some headlight bricks in conjunction with those bars in other places. A-plates, tiles, and various wedge plates comprise the angling on top of the wings in other spots. Honestly, tiling the edges and filling in the wings was very, very satisfying. Of course, what would an 18+ set be without snot techniques? There are a bunch of such techniques used in this set, including along the sides of the wings, by the engines themselves, note the blade barrels, this sliding door separating the cabin from the cart compartment, the windscreens, check out this cool technique, and my favorite, the replication of the white down arrow from Classic Space, which uses some brackets, inverted tiles, and Nexonite shield tiles. This was incredibly fun to build. I also want to give a shout out to the use of buckets for what I always presume to be sirens that were placed along the side of the ship. The minifigs aren't voluminous in this set as the original version came with 4, 2 red and 2 white. This copy holds true to the original here. Back in the 1970s and 80s, the red space minifig was more common than the white, although both were in production for nearly a decade. This is still the only set where you can get a modern red classic space minifig. The white one also appeared in 2019's Benny's Space Squad. The small number of minifigs undoubtedly helped to keep the cost down, but honestly isn't that disappointing given that it copies the original. The interior is rather spacious, including room for all 4 minifigs in the cockpit, even when they are wearing their air tanks. The cabin also has plenty of space, although there are only 2 beds, but again, these allow the minifigs to wear their air tanks, although it's missing some place for them to place items, such as these cups being held by their droid. But the space overall provides some nice playability and some rather ingenious designs. Some other noteworthy playability items include the droid, which did not come in the original Galaxy Explorer, but is similar to those released in the classic space era. There are these side engines that can be removed and ridden, as shown on the back of the box, and lots of screens to imagine various spaceship emergencies. More importantly, there are 2 other really cool play components to the set. First, like in the back of the original Galaxy Explorer, you have a compartment for the buggy. What's really cool about this one is that the 8x16 black tile can be pulled out to form a ramp, while 2 Technic pins restrain the buggy from falling off. Once the ramp is fully deployed, the buggy rolls on down and out the back of the ship, just like this. My wife and kids, who were unimpressed by the looks of the set, really liked this feature. The second element is that this is so swooshable. It is light and strong enough to be held in one hand and flown around your room. It also has landing gear which folds seamlessly up and down as needed. Your inner child will absolutely love these play features. As an adult fan of LEGO, I like to break value into 2 components: display and cost. In terms of display value, this set is rather large. It's over 21 inches long and 12 inches wide. So it's not going to be all that small on a shelf, and is going to make the Blacktron Cruiser gift with purchase from a couple years ago look rather dinky in comparison. On a shelf, its dimensions might work against you, as IKEA Billy shelves are about 10 inches deep, meaning this will overhang a bit. One solution is to hang it up as if the ship is engaged in a banking maneuver. Another is to place it in a larger display unit, such as the ModuSpace DF series, which provides plenty of space for this set. No matter your display situation, this set will probably fit in pretty well, as it's not too big, especially compared to some other 18+ sets from the recent years, like Barad-dûr, the Venator, or really any UCS Lord of the Rings or Star Wars set. Now, part of that is due to the cost of the ship. It only came in at $100 US when it was released. But interestingly enough, it seems like, from what I've read, LEGO kind of spammed the market with this set at other retailers like Walmart. So it wasn't too difficult to find it on sale pretty quickly after it was released, meaning you could pick this up for $50, $75 like we did when it was released in 2022. That means that it is probably one of the most affordable, highly ranked sets from Brickset that you could find to this day. In fact, if you go on bricklink.com, you can find this set for sale for less than the regular retail price when it's released. I've seen some Bricklink shops that have it for sale for around $90, maybe even a couple that are less than that. And if you want to get it used, expect to pay about $70 to $75 before shipping. So overall, you can still get this set, especially if you're interested in pairing it up with that Blacktron Cruiser gift with purchase or the new Blacktron Renegade. When I provide my objectively subjective rankings, I do like to do it on the basis of the build experience, whether you can build it together with other people, the display value, and some of the little intangibles that you might have in a set, and its ability to keep me engaged, having built a lot of LEGO sets over the years. And I have to say, this one checks off nearly all of the boxes. Now, there's only one instruction manual, so you can't really build it together unless you want to crack open the LEGO Instructions app. But everything else is present in this set. The building experience was so much fun. I even was able to engage in the Technic pieces that you put together in bag 1. Even though it was my least favorite, I could see where the set was heading, and there were multiple points in time where I was really pleased by the building experience, whether it was putting the wedge plates or the tiles to form the wings, whether it was this cockpit angle, even the door here on the back, and the engines. It really was a lot of fun to put together. It also reminded me of those classic space sets when I was a kid, and in fact they used the same color palette from back then, replacing the old light gray with the new light blay. So overall, the building experience was fantastic. It has a lot of fun elements, and I think it looks great on display. So it really has everything that I'm looking for, and that's why, in terms of my final rating of the set, I'm gonna give it a 10 with a caveat. I wanna make it clear that there are some people that this set may not do a lot for. If you aren't into space, if you're not into the neoclassic space movement or the old school classic space sets, it's probably not going to do anything for you. And that's something that was true with my wife and kids. None of them are really big into space, even if they like Star Wars, just not the ships. So for them, this wasn't all that impressive, but I certainly had a blast building it. And if you're interested in it, I think you'll see it as a 10 out of 10. I also want to note that this set actually has a very, very high rating so far on Brickset. Normally when I review sets, it's early in their release and there aren't enough reviews in on Brickset to give it an overall ranking or rating, but this one is a 4.7 out of 5, which is really, really high for a Lego set in rarefied air. And quite frankly, I think it deserves that. So with that in mind, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you're interested in picking this up, go ahead, find it on eBay or Bricklink. And again, it might be a good pairing with some of the new neoclassic space sets that have come out. Thanks for watching. Always remember to keep building together.